fasten your seatbelts. It's gonna be a bumpy night. Well, I did not really want to make a video about this, but I felt like I needed to make a video about this. So here I am. Got a lot to go through, so here we go. If you are new here, my name is Suzi Greenberg. I am a former title holder and I have competed in both the Miss and Mrs. division. So a quick recap of what's been going on in the pageant world, just in case you've been checked out and you have no idea what's going on. So there have been accusations against our new Miss USA 2022 that the USA 2022 pageant was rigged, and other accusations. This has made such big headlines, it's even grabbed the attention of national level commentary and reporting. So it's long, it's messy, but I'm going to try to summarize exactly what's been going on really quickly before we dive into details. Basically, the main accusations that have been put forth is that of, I would just say, poor management of the USA system and favoritism. Saying that giving our new queen, who is Miss Texas at the time, more of an advantage to win the pageant. And some people are calling foul. Some people are saying, was it rigged? Was it more than just favoritism? Was there actually malicious intents at play? So we're going to talk about that in more detail here. Before I dive into all of the details here, I want to take a quick moment to make sure that we are giving grace to all of the people who are involved here. This does not give any of us excuse to start name calling and saying things that we don't have proof to back it up on. It's okay to have an opinion, but if you are completely destroying a person's reputation by doing so, that's probably not the kindest thing, and you really want someone doing that to you if you were in their shoes. So let's just try to give everybody the benefit of the doubt and a little bit of grace throughout this whole process. Now that we've cleared that up, let's get into the tea of all this. First thing, the first accusation was around a group retreat that all of the USA contestants went on to Mexico and Cancun. So all of the headshots for the Miss USA were all taken at the resort in Cancun. They also had like workshops, and there was kind of like a get together. I've heard really great things about it. Pretty much everyone has said really positive things about the retreat. There was no real issue with the retreat. What happened was after the retreat. So only 49 girls were able to attend the retreat. 2 other girls, Miss Texas and Miss Colorado, did not attend the retreat because they had not been crowned yet. The retreat, I believe, was a week before they were their state pageant, so they hadn't been crowned yet. So rather than doing kind of a mini retreat with the 2 of them, afterwards they had them come to Houston and do a shoot there. They tried to recreate it at a Hilton hotel to kind of make the photos look like the photos that were in Mexico. Now, both girls had to pay their flight to the Hilton hotel with their own finances. It was not covered. Whereas when the girls when they went to Mexico, that flight was covered. They have a airline sponsorship. I believe it's American Airlines. I could be wrong there, but I do know that there was a airline sponsor where they were able to be flown to Mexico for free, those 49 girls. But Miss Texas and Miss Colorado had to transport themselves to the Hilton Hotel in Houston, Texas. Now, granted, Miss Texas, Rabani, is from Houston, Texas, so she didn't have, all she had to do is drive across town to get to the shoot. Here's, though, where it gets messy. So this was not revealed until after Miss Texas won the USA pageant. About 24 hours after she won her title, a video was released of footage of her in Mexico at the Cancun resort at a med spa. And everyone was like, wait a second, she wasn't there. How did she get flown to how is she in Mexico? How is she at this med spa at the resort if she wasn't there at the trip with us and she just won 48 hours ago? What had happened is that after, before she had gone to the USA competition, while she was still crowned as Miss Texas, she ended up going to Mexico and being in their med spa and filmed a promotional video for the hotel and the med spa there. Now, some people, this is where the accusations of it being rigged started to come up from. People were saying that, oh, they already decided that she was going to be the new Miss USA, so they already started giving her a prize package in advance before she became queen, before she was crowned. This has been debunked in videos of when they have interviewed several people, including Rabani herself. They said that first off, she was not flown for free to Mexico. She went on her own. She paid for her own flight, which, I mean, she's from Houston to Cancun. It's probably not super expensive. She could even probably drive there if she really wanted to. So she did pay out of her own pocket her transportation to the hotel. She was chosen to be an ambassador, a brand ambassador for the hotel and med spa while she was Miss Texas. And I learned through Elle Smith, our former Miss USA, from a video that she released. She mentioned that Elle had become that brand ambassador, had gotten that opportunity due to one of her state sponsors. One of her state sponsors had connections and had his products in the hotel at the med spa in Cancun. So he was able to use his connections to get her to become a brand ambassador. But from the outside looking in, it didn't look very good. This kind of has been cleared up, but I think what a lot of people are even upset to even right now is that, well, why didn't you just come talk about this? I mean, I understand you don't want to necessarily brag about it, but it's not against the rules in any way to work with a national sponsor. Many girls have done in the past. I think what got most people upset about this was that they only picked one. They only picked Miss Texas. They didn't pick any other girl. And I think also they felt really bad for Miss Colorado because Miss Colorado didn't get anything. She kind of got left in the dust. And this definitely started rubbing people the wrong way. And this is my own personal opinion, but state sponsors, any sponsor in general, has the right to work with whoever they want. There is nothing that anywhere that says that you have to make multiple people a brand ambassador or you have to sponsor more than one girl. For sponsorships, they're going to pick the girl that they feel like is going to deliver. This is a business agreement. Sponsors do not just give out money for fun, because they're being nice. No, this is a business agreement and they want something back in return. So they're usually going to back the girl who's going to be the most successful, who they think has the best chance of winning. If they don't think you're a strong contender, they're probably not going to give you a sponsorship. I mean, they might just because they're kind, but most sponsors are only going to invest in sponsoring you if you are going to do well. And we all know, everybody knew that Rabbani was going to do a good job. She may have not won, but we knew she was going to at least make top 5. I mean, everybody knew that. I mean, it was very clear that from when they did prelims that she was definitely going to go far. Another accusation brought up was the conflict of interest with the state costume competition. Now, the state costume competition is just for fun. It does not affect your score for if you win the title or not. However, 2 of the judges for the state costume competition were sponsors for Miss Texas, and Miss Texas won the competition. So while this didn't really affect anything, I don't think anyone's really upset about this. It did, however, just add more fuel to the flames. And as a reference, it is not uncommon whatsoever for sponsors to be judges for a pageant. I would say majority of the pageants that I have competed in, there was at least 1 or 2 judges that were a bigger sponsor for the pageant. So this is not as much uncommon. I think they would have been more, everyone would have been more okay with it if they were national sponsors instead of state sponsors. Another accusation that has been brought forth is that there was favoritism by the Miss USA organization towards Miss Texas. And I'm going to get into all those details momentarily. But one thing that I think is really important to talk about before we get into all of that is the Miss Montana video that has been going viral and all the content that is in there. So what ended up happening is after the pageant, a lot of the girls were just not very happy with their pageant experience that they had at Miss USA. So they all kind of came together, and I guess Miss Montana decided to be either volunteered or they to be the spokesperson for the collective group. And she did make a video and basically explaining her experience and some of the other experiences of some of the other girls, and filmed it all and place it online. I do have the link below if you do want to watch it yourself. Now, basically, it's because it's about almost an hour and a half long. If you don't want to watch it, I've watched it myself, and basically it is saying that the whole organization, the pageant, the week itself was very, very disorganized. And that made a lot of the girls very upset, and it really affected their mental health, their entire experience throughout the week. Why I think this is really important to talk about is because I think it's really good to understand where their heads are, what the mindset was of these girls during this pageant week and then after. When you find out kind of what kind of headspace they were in, you can kind of understand and justify maybe why they were having certain inclinations. So first off, just the whole organization was just sloppy planning, just absolutely sloppy planning. I mean, I've never been a director before, but in theory, I think it could have probably planned this better than what they did. I mean, maybe I'm oversimplifying how to plan a pageant, but with just the experience I have, when they told me, when I listened to their experiences, I was like, honey, no. Anybody who's done any pageant experience whatsoever knows that is not going to work. And this is just very, very disappointing, because Crystal Stewart, who is the head of the Miss USA organization right now, is a former Miss USA. She's a pageant girl. You can understand sometimes some of these, non-pageant people trying to run a pageant. You can understand that maybe, that they wouldn't understand. They make bad decisions. But Crystal Stewart should know better. So there is no excuse for poor planning. So while we all kind of gave Crystal the benefit of doubt last year because she got the pageant right before the national pageant actually happened, so she had very, very little time to plan it. So, but this time, there's no excuses. She had an entire year to plan this pageant. And I guess from all the different newsletters that they gave out and just instructions on what to bring, what to have with you, they told you nothing. They were very vague. For example, they said on a list of what to pack, they said bring one gown. They didn't say bring at least one gown or you can only bring one gown. So some girls thought that, oh, they're only allowed to have one gown. You can't wear two gowns, you have to wear one. Just like little things like clarification. However, this is a moment where if you ever have something like this and you were like, I really want to wear two gowns, but it says bring one gown. This is when you email people. This is where you get some clarification and see. So, tip. Another thing that had happened with them is the first impression part of the competition. They told them bring an outfit that you would think make a good impression. That's literally what they said. But they didn't tell them that, oh, this piece of clothing you're going to wear is going to be on national television. They brought stuff for more like an interview type settings or like a meet and greet gala. Most of the girls did not bring clothing that they were going to wear on national television. And why this matters is certain colors, certain outfits, while they look great in person, they don't look good on television. And a lot of the girls had to scramble and figure out their outfits because they didn't even realize the part of the competition of the first impression part, which we all know how I feel about that part of the competition in my last video, but they didn't even know if that was even part of the competition until they already got to rehearsals. So they were completely blindsided by that. One of the worst parts of the planning was the schedule itself. They had girls running from event to event to event with no downtime. They were getting up at 5 a.m., going to bed at 11 p.m., 1 a.m., basically running on 3 to 5 hours of sleep every night for a whole week. While, you don't get much sleep at a national pageant, they really did not put anything in their schedule for any type of breather or any type of relaxation. Unfortunately, this is not as uncommon as I wish it was. There is another pageant system that a friend of mine competed in. They did the exact same thing to her. They just ran their girls ragged. And from her experience, what she told me, it was absolutely miserable. Thankfully, she had her mom there with her and she was a big help to her and helped her, but it really does affect your entire experience when you are constantly rushed and don't even have time for just basic things like sleeping and eating. I guess another thing was while they had them required to do a lot of activities, they didn't give them enough time to do things that they needed to do to get ready. An example, I know this is on the teen side, but they had this like required yoga session that they had to do that was part of a sponsor event. And then after it ended, some of the girls had their interview less than a half an hour later. So they're getting all sweaty doing yoga and then had to shower, do their hair, do their makeup, do whatever, and then go to their interview in less than a half an hour. Like I said, sloppy planning. Another event that they did that was just poor execution was, not that many people know, but the opening number that they show on live television is actually pre-recorded. This actually isn't really that uncommon for a national televised event. The Super Bowl halftime show is usually also pre-recorded. It's usually not live. Sometimes it's live, sometimes it's the pre-recorded. They do always have it pre-recorded for the Super Bowl due to weather reasons, but it's just so that because it's national television, they want to make sure it goes smoothly, so they pre-record it. So, but rather than pre-recording this, a day before, 2 days before the actual event, no. They had the girls do prelims, which was in the evening. They finished up around 10 o'clock, I believe is what they said. And then they had everybody clear the auditorium and then had them film the opening number and all of their intros. They were recording this in the auditorium until 1 a.m. And they had just had a full day. Most of these girls had been up since 5 a.m. and they had just finished a competition. Plus, as they said, this was, if you watch the show, it was not an easy opening. It wasn't just the locking and the waving and like the kind of stuff. It was a full out dance number, which, I love the opening number. I thought they did an amazing job. But to get it right, to be able to get all the angles with the cameras, to do everything you needed, it took a lot of takes. And of course, like most of these girls aren't professional dancers, so they're going to make mistakes. There's going to be issues. So I guess, and then they're all sweaty, and then they had to do their opening numbers, and they didn't even let them go in the back, and they didn't have a makeup artist there to do touch-ups for them. And it really got people upset. I would be upset too. I would want to just go home and go to sleep. I want to go back to my hotel room. So, but then they had to do this and then go to their interview was the next day and then the finals. If they just would have planned it out better, had it earlier in the day, had it earlier in the week, it would have just been, everyone would have been much happier. Some girls have also claimed that they had very hostile interviews, that the judges were very impersonal, to the point of rude. They got fed very political questions, and I know what it feels like coming out of an interview feeling totally gutted. I've been there when I feel like you're being personally attacked. And honestly, I think the reason why these judges were this way is probably because they didn't plan it out right. I can know that after being a judge and going through this whole long process, they get worn out too. The judges get worn out just as much as the contestants do. So I think that why some of the reasons these girls had such horrible interviews is because the judges were just worn out and cranky and upset too, which that makes it very unpleasant for both sides. So this next part kind of starts playing out where some of the favoritism accusations are coming from. So one of the biggest favoritisms that they saw was through the training and coaching of the girls. Now, all of the girls got training through the Miss Academy. Now, if you're not sure or not really know up to date with the whole training, Miss Brand, Miss Academy, the Miss Brand, all right, it can get very, very complicated really fast. So there is Miss USA organization, which is the pageant. Then there is the Miss Academy, which is a pageant coaching service owned by Crystal Stewart. Then there is the Miss Brand, and I'm not really sure what Miss Brand is exactly. I think Miss Brand is the more of the legal side of it. I think it's more of what everything is filed under in terms of legal branding. Now, don't quote me on this. I am not an expert on all of this, but the point of all of this is that the Miss Brand, Miss Academy, and Miss USA are all owned and operated by Crystal Stewart. So while they are three separate entities, they are all woven together and will interact with each other harmoniously. Now, as part of the prize package for all contestants, all 51 contestants, they got free pageant training through the Miss Academy. Crystal Stewart mentioned this on her interview in Good Morning America, that all 51 contestants got 8 weeks of training through the Miss Academy. Now, from more videos that I saw from the contestant side, what she didn't mention was, though, that these trainings were through Zoom, and they were like once a week. It wasn't like 8 weeks of continuous training. It was more like 8 sessions through Zoom. And while Zoom is a wonderful opportunity, I'm really, really glad that we can actually do coaching through things like Zoom and FaceTime. It's not the same as having one-on-one coaching in an actual face-to-face. And I guess a lot of the girls felt like they needed to go one-on-one to the actual academy. There were a lot of comments, I guess, made by the staff saying, oh, well, if you want additional training, or if you want to feel like you need more to be prepared, then you need to come and take lessons in person. And I guess it was kind of emphasized that this was kind of like a requirement if you wanted to win. And this was not covered. This was out of your own pocket. You had to pay for your own flight to Houston, Texas, and then you had to pay for all the sessions. And the sessions were not cheap whatsoever. I think it was something around like $14,000 or something like that. I could be completely wrong. I would have to double check the numbers. I did go on her website. I did try to see how much the services are, but none of them were listed. It said you had to call to get a quote. But I guess some of these girls were spending thousands and thousands of dollars on this coaching. Now, however, Miss Texas got $10,000 of free coaching through the Miss Academy. Now, technically, there's nothing wrong with this. It was part of her state prize package. But a lot of people were like, why did the Miss Academy give a sponsorship to the Texas state pageant, but not to any of the other state pageants? Now, granted, the Miss Academy is in Houston, Texas, so I do kind of understand why they are supporting Miss Texas. As I have lived and competed in the state of Texas, I do understand that the whole concept of Texans supporting Texas, it's a very, very big thing. However, I do understand why some people think it was unfair or showing favoritism. In addition to this, supposedly Miss Texas was getting more one-on-one attention during rehearsals from the coaches than the other contestants. One more accusation that has been brought forth was around hair and makeup. You are not allowed as a contestant to bring your own hair and makeup artist. You have to use the sponsored hair and makeup artist that the pageant provides. Now, I guess the penalty for this is pretty high. I guess if you bring in your own makeup artist, you could potentially be disqualified from the pageant. And people were not very happy about the hair and makeup that was provided. People said that it was horrible. And I don't know if everyone, maybe it was, I kind of heard mixed reviews. Some people said that they liked their makeup. Other people said they was horrible makeup. And some people have said that, yeah, I think it was maybe more of the makeup artist that they had hired there. But I guess it was really, really horrible makeup application. And pretty bad hair. And they also just did not timing. Remember to talk about the schedule. The timing, they gave them like 10 minutes to do their hair and makeup. Whereas you would need to do a good job, a good hour. So that it might have not been the skill level of the makeup artist. It might have just been that the level of time commitment that they were given in that situation. There have been claims against Miss Texas that she had her own hair and makeup artist. The only thing that I really heard is that they saw a makeup artist come outside of her hotel room, and no one actually saw a different makeup artist actually applying it. So this is kind of a jumping to conclusions, why she was there. I don't know. He or she, were they, actually doing her makeup? Were they just stopping by to say hi? Were they dropping off, makeup products? Because you are allowed to do your own hair and makeup. That was allowed. I don't know. I don't know the answer to that. I'm not going to make any claims to that, but this kind of goes into another topic where you aren't allowed to have any guests or visitors in your hotel room. Security at Miss USA is really strict. They do this for two reasons. One, to keep girls safe, to keep people from kind of like tampering with their items or just random people kind of walking through, because you have a roommate too. They want to keep, maybe just because you trust this person doesn't necessarily mean that the other person, your roommate, feels comfortable with them being there. And it also keeps from potential foul play. They don't want you, meeting with people that they don't approve of, I don't know, talking to reporters. I'm not really sure exactly. We're not going to get into all those details, but, or, talking to judges, things like that. Suppose if there was a makeup artist that went to your room, that technically would have broken the rules. However, there's a big loophole here because you are not allowed to have any visitors. You are not allowed to have any outside source unless you have the pageant's permission. And to add more to the mix, there is a video of Miss Texas on the roof of her hotel room doing this cute little like TikTok reel, like wearing her sash and her opening number outfit. And this video was due to, I guess, the lighting was taken after curfew. Like, she was supposed to be in her room at that time. She wasn't supposed to be out and about, yet she was out filming this video. So either she directly broke curfew and went against the rules behind there, she snuck out, or she got permission from the pageant to be able to make this video. So either way, she either broke the rules or she had favoritism. However, I really do want to talk about a lot of these favoritisms and these loopholes here. So the big loophole throughout all of this is with the pageant's permission. And it might have just been that Brabani asked. I mean, a lot of times people just kind of assume that these are the rules and this is the way it is, and they don't even bother asking. And if they would have asked, then maybe they could have had a different outcome. A personal story where this has happened to me, this is actually not in pageantry, but this is in theater. This is during a musical production that I was in. I auditioned for this huge musical production. There were hundreds of people who auditioned. I was in the cast, but I was just an extra. However, there were tons and tons of people. It was a massive production, and one of the semi-leads had a family emergency and had to miss rehearsals. And she said that she may even have to resign from the part. So I took it upon myself to talk to the director when we were alone. I brought her to the side and I told her very politely, I was really, really sorry that this event had happened, and hopefully, her family member gets better. But in the meantime, while she's out, I would love for the opportunity to be a stand-in for her, and just to be like, the body there, so that the other actors can, not rehearse to thin air and actually have a human to talk to. And I guess I was the only one who had approached the director about this. The director said, "Thank you so much. I'll keep this in mind." And that was the end of that conversation. However, about a week or so later, I get brought aside and told that, "Congratulations, you are now the new supporting lead." And she made the announcement to the cast that day that this other cast member had decided to resign from the part and that I had gotten the new character. I never auditioned for this. She never held auditions. She never even gave an option to any of the other actresses to get this part. I was just given this part, and the reason why I think she just gave this part to me is because she respected the fact that I had approached her. And I mean, she did know who I was. Since I was a part of the cast, and she did, of course, know everyone in the cast, so she might have known that I might have been her choice, you know, even if I hadn't said anything. But I think the reason why I got that part in the long run was because I went for it. You know, I think that, you know, asking for things or trying to, you know, work your way up to the top gets a really bad name. You don't have to do it in a rude way. You don't have to do it in a shady way. You can do it in a very polite, respectful way. And I think if you do that, if you're ambitious, you can get farther ahead. It's like asking for a raise. You know, if you never ask for one, you're probably not going to get one. So, was a lot of this favoritism, or was it just Rabani asking for permission to do things and people said yes? I don't know. I wasn't there. I don't know. But I think it's a good thing to think about, that all of this just might have been situational. Now that we have gotten through all of that, wow, what a horrible way just to start your reign. I really feel bad for Rabani. I feel bad for all of the girls, actually. I mean, what a dark cloud to just start off this USA year with. Man. And I do feel really bad for the girls, the other 50 contestants as well. I do really feel like that, basically, I just think that the schedule was just way too intense. They just feel like that they didn't get their money's worth. I think they felt taken advantage of, especially financially. Because a lot of these girls spent this money with their own money. This wasn't sponsored money. This wasn't, from their state packages. This was their own personal finances. And to invest so much money into this and then not get something returned back, at least it's like booking this amazing, wonderful vacation only to have it completely be the worst vacation you've ever been on in your life. You're going to be disappointed. And part of that's because you spent so much money on it. I think that, I said this at the beginning, I think that one of the reasons why we're hearing all these comments of foul play and favoritism and all this is because just kind of everything that they went through. I think when you're in that headspace of feeling like you are taken advantage of and you being in a low mental health moment, I think it's really easy for you to jump to conclusions, or it's really easy for you to believe rumors. And I don't think that's anyone's fault. I don't think we should be coming at these women. I think it's just human nature. I think the lesson learned here is that we need to have a bit more transparency and we need to have a better schedule. I think organization is vital for anything, but especially a pageant. You know, the devil is in the details, and I've had it both ways. There are some where you don't want to have what's like this, where it's too crazy to schedule, too much, too fast. But you don't want the other extreme too. I've been in a pageant where it was so laid back, so mellow, that you just feel like you're wasting your time you're wasting your time, you're wasting money, spending a whole week at a pageant and to where it could have been easily put into 3 days. Timing and proper scheduled planning is really, really important. Also, being as detailed as you can with your contestants. Communication. I don't know why this is so hard. Like, why is this so hard in the pageant community? To have proper communication, to have a proper handbook from your director that says all the rules, not only just the rules, but things like what the schedule is, what you're going to bring. And I understand if you may not know this 6 months in advance, but you should probably know this stuff a month, 2 weeks beforehand, just giving people the heads up, communicating with this. Like, it's really a disadvantage to your contestants when you do not communicate. I was in a pageant where there was horrible communication skills. I didn't even know there was a certain part of competition until I got to the pageant. By making the pageant more transparent and, you know, kind of communicating better with your contestants, I think would have eliminated a lot of problems. And that is something that we all need to do a better job of. With all the claims of favoritism, one thing I want to bring up, and this is just my opinion, my philosophy on this, is that I think part of it has to do with the fact we're dealing with the state of Texas. The Miss brand Crystal Stewart operations is based in Houston, Texas. And for anyone who has competed in Texas, who has lived in Texas, knows the Texas pageant scene. I've lived there, I've competed there. The Texas pageant community is extremely tight-knit and close. Even if you've never competed in a system before, you know of all the girls. So many people there have so many connections. Pageantry is a really big deal in Texas. So the prize packets are going to be bigger, better. They have, their sponsors are more dedicated. It's just the advantage of competing in a competitive state like Texas. It is very, very difficult to win a title in Texas. It's going into a whole nother topic of state jumping. But if you do have a chance to win in Texas, you're really well taken care of as a contestant. And you're going to have a lot more opportunities being Miss Texas than if you were to be a title holder in a non-competitive state. And unfortunately, they do sometimes get a little bit more of an advantage. It's just simple things like in Texas, they have more pageant gown stores. So you're able to look for a gown and not have it travel as far. They're more likely to get a sponsor because more people are willing to invest in something like a pageant, where if you, in some other states, they may look and be like, pageants? Those things still exist? I didn't realize they still did pageants. You know, like, you're not going to get as much support from the community. So is there a teeny bit of favoritism? I mean, if you want to call it favoritism, maybe. But I do, however, think that as a national organization, it might have not been the best decision to only sponsor one state. And I mean, I don't necessarily think it's ethically wrong, but it doesn't really look good from an optics perspective. It does. I think that they were just like, oh, we're in Texas, let's support Texas, and they just did it. Like, and they didn't really think about the big picture or how it would make other people feel. And on that, I think they are responsible for. But unfortunate that this happened. I don't think it was done with malicious or ill intent. To wrap things up, in conclusion, with everything that's been going on, Paula Shugart, who is the president of the Miss Universe organization, did have a town hall meeting with the contestants so that they could express their wants, needs, concerns to Paula directly, who indirectly, Paula is Crystal's boss. So she's the big one, the big girl on top. They did have a town hall meeting where they were able to talk about that, and hopefully they will be making some more changes. They will be doing things more appropriately in the future. In addition to that, they are doing a full-fledged investigation into the pageant to make sure that there was no cheating, there was nothing rigged, and there was no obvious favoritism throughout. That, as far as I'm aware, that investigation is still pending, and I do not know the results of that at this moment. Hopefully we'll hear more from that. Honestly, I don't really think they're going to find anything, but you never know. Only time will tell. So that's about it. That about wraps everything up that I'm aware of at this moment. Yeah, it was a lot. I know it was a bit long-winded. We had a lot to go through. But I think that the conclusion of all of this is that we just need to be kind. We need to be kind. We need to communicate better with each other, and let's all just try to treat others the way that we want to be treated. How about that? So I hope that you all have a wonderful rest of your days, and that you treat everybody the way you want to be treated. So let's please comment below. What did you think about all this? Do you have any more information on this that I missed on something? Do you have the same opinion that I do? Let's talk. I do read all of the comments, so please let me hear your opinions. I would love to hear them all. Well, thank you so much, and have a wonderful rest of your day.